Dr. Jazz.
Wanted to ask you, you wrote in your email a new album is coming out, and I love the previous one, Fatherhood. I mean, I want to talk about that one also, but first, like, if you already know, I mean, when it's coming out and who is it with and what was the process?
I mean, basically, the last couple of years, I recorded about 2.5 hours of music with multiple groups, and I was going to put it all out together, and that became like just too much to try to do. So I decided to put out the last part of it first. So this record is it's going to come out as of now, February 3rd. I'm going to put it out myself. If something changes and someone said, "Hey, we're gonna put it out for you and give you all this money," whatever. But as of now, and the plan is to put it out February 3rd on my own label, like I did with Fatherhood. Yeah, which I'm cool with doing that. Cause I'm just I like putting the stuff out the way I plan it to be, for better or for worse. Yeah. But this record, it's myself on bass, all original music. Drummer named Aaron Kimmel, and so all the tunes are me and Aaron, but the other musicians switch up at different times. So Joel Ross is playing vibes. Oh, beautiful. Nicholas Payton is playing trumpet. Ooh. A good amount of tracks. And Nicole Glover is playing tenor saxophone on the record. Oh, fantastic. Emmanuel Wilkins is playing an alto saxophone, but they're not all together. It's usually the most a quintet. Oh, okay. So it's different combinations. Orrin Evans plays piano on a couple songs. Oh, and the pianist Addison Fry plays piano on a couple songs. So even with the piano songs, there are a few of them, it still basically is a pianoless record. Beautiful. So the piano plays on a couple ballads, and so they're sort of separate. They're together, but the gist of the record is pretty much like a pianoless record. Oh, fantastic. With vibes. So and I've been playing with Nicholas for years. I mean, going back to the 90s, we've recorded together, he's played with my group. I went out with his group, but I've never had him on one of my records. Yeah. And it's great to have him because he plays with me at Dizzy's several times over the years. So it's great to document it. And it was a great experience because I love the studio we went to, and I love the engineer, this guy Todd Whitelock. Mm-hmm. We were at Power Station, and we were in the same room with no headphones, no booze. Man, yeah. So, which makes you play differently because you're actually creating the sound as a group. I mean, obviously that's nothing new because pretty much, or certainly all my favorite records were recorded that way. So we did it that way, like Fatherhood, but not like, hey, let's do a throwback record. It's more about, I just find that to be a better quality sound than the separation where you have no sense of the ensemble because it's not, not that those records can't sound great, but I enjoy playing with these musicians that way. And I'm excited about it. I feel good about it.
Fantastic, man. Looking forward to You wrote all the music also? Or?
Yeah. The album's called Unjust.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, this is my 10th record. I think I've written the music on all my records with the exception of 2 songs. That's pretty much what I use. That's usually what I do. So, I mean, again, for better or for worse.
No, I love your tunes. I mean, I want to talk about, I listened a lot to Fatherhood. It's beautiful music you wrote there. And
thank you.
The ensemble is fantastic. I mean, Emmanuel is obviously back again. So,
Yeah, there's several people the same.
Yeah,
so which is not several, 2 actually. Yeah.
Is this also like a band you will play gigs with, or?
Yeah, I mean, we've been playing gigs because I'm not really playing too many sideman gigs. I'm really trying to play as a leader, so I'm putting my time there.
Okay.
But we've been playing a lot with Aaron Kimmel on drums and Joel Ross and Nicole. We've done a lot of quartet gigs.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, with Nicole. Yeah.
And there's some with slightly different variations of the group, but we've been playing some much more than in the past for me. And we just did a week at Dizzy's with Nicholas with the group.
Oh, how was that? Burning, right?
It was fun. It was great to play 4 nights, and he's always been inspiring to play with. He has a way of, without saying anything, he doesn't say it, but there's an expectation of not bullshitting when you play with him, which I really like.
Oh, sure.
There's no, it's not like, let's go out there and impress people. It's very much about the music, which is one of my favorite things about him. It's always very much, let's make some music here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what it's all about, right? In the end, basically.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about, you said you will put it out on your own label. I mean, on your own nowadays, it's kind of easier, right? With Bandcamp and all this stuff, but like, what's your view on, you've been...
It's easier, but it costs more. I mean, a lot of that stuff for me is financial. So, if I'm with some label, they're paying for it.
Yeah,
perhaps.
That's true. Yeah,
they're paying for part of it. I mean, there's that part, but when you do it yourself, you make all the choices.
No, I mean, easier in a sense. It's easier to bring it out, at least if you're on your own. That's
I think
the
so.
only
I
right
think so.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but then there's the issue with CDs. I mean, I don't buy a CD, but like the radio to do radio promotion, they want CDs still.
I know. Yeah.
And you can sell CDs on your gigs.
Yeah.
But you have to have enough gigs to sell the CDs. So you always, at least I get overzealous and I'm going to sell this many and have a closet full of CDs, but I'm selling it digitally. So it's like a new landscape, but I've been out here for a while. So for me, I'm still learning it. But I mean, it's certainly easier. I remember back in the day, distribution was not something you could buy on CD Baby for $70. It was like, like online distribution, all that stuff, that's much easier to get. I'm sure getting on playlists, that kind of thing, there's always a hustle to it. But I do think some things are easier.
But the income is, for streaming, it's terrible. Like, it's just, it will not even go there, actually.
But it's like, for me, recording the way I like to record, I need a certain type of studio, which costs more.
Sure.
That was the whole thing with fatherhood. That was like my father had passed away. So the record, it wasn't like I wrote a bunch of songs for my dad. It was, I made the record the way I know he would have encouraged me to do it. I used this studio, which I might not have done in the past. I would have it's a little expensive or whatever. But I did the whole record in a way I know he wished I would have done it, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah.
So this is a similar record in that sense. We're at a different studio, but it's with the same engineer, some of the same musicians, and the same concept as far as same room and all that.
Yeah.
But Fatherhood had strings, and I have several string records. I tend to like to make a non-string record between the string records. I did record a string record as well in the last couple of years. So
yeah, you're extremely busy as a band leader. Besides being a sideman also, but already from 13 Sketches, which is like what, mid-90s or late mid-90s. Yeah, I think you've done a lot, so.
I write a lot of music, man. So it's just back then I was doing a lot of sideman, gigs with so-and-so or with this person, which was great. Now I'm really just trying to play as a leader. I take some sideman stuff, but not that much.
Do you enjoy that role of a band leader? I mean,
that's what without a doubt. I mean, being a sideman is cool, but it's a different thing. And I write all this music, and I have ideas. So I like the idea of being a band leader and all that goes with it. But there's a lot that goes with it. A lot of time on the phone, all that. So, and also some gigs at this point in my life. I just turned 60 in August. So certain gigs, and I'm not saying people shouldn't do them, but for me personally, a lot of the gigs I believe should be for the younger musicians coming up. That's how you learn to play. And what makes me think about that is before I moved to New York, so when I was still in Portland, maybe I was, 21 or something. And we would play these little gigs that didn't pay anything really, and very, very little. We take these gigs, and I loved them playing. and older musicians would say, man, you guys are the problem. You're bringing the price down.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, but I just want to play, and this is awesome. So now I sort of split the difference. I'm like, I don't take gigs that I think that younger musicians, like a late night somewhere, I could do it, but I think it's better for the younger players to do it. So I decide not to, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's, because that's how we learn to play, and there's less of that now. So that's part of the not taking sideman, gigs. But plus I want to spend the time practicing and trying to set up, with all that goes into it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, but I think it's now's the time, I'm gonna try.
No, but definitely, yeah, sure. I mean, you compose beautiful stuff, and so it's nice that the world gets to hear it, and I think it's important. It's
that's nice of you to say.
Like it's a different beast, band leading than being a sideman. It's way more work. It's like like especially when touring, I guess it's a different.
Totally.
You're the father to everyone, basically. Like
so now, like all the things I would complain about, I got to supply.
Yeah.
This flight. How's the hotel? Can I get a hotel? Can I maybe come out even? All the things I got to deal with is not. I'm learning. It's not on the sidemen. It's not. It's not their business in a way. Sure. So I'm trying to do the best I can with it, and it's, fortunately the musicians I've been playing with, they know that I'm doing the best I can financially for them, and they seem to want to do it. And at the same time, if they have something better, I don't demand,
sure.
If they have a better gig coming at the same time, take it, I get it.
Makes sense.
Just the nature of the beast,
Yeah, definitely. But I wanted to ask you, about speaking of fatherhood, like, and I mentioned you composed so much, and you basically yourself said you composed every track except 2 on your records. Like, it seems to be an easy process for you, but like, when I listen to, I don't know, Uncle Leslie or Opener or some of these tunes, like they have such really beautiful melodies and the harmony. And how do you come up with a tune usually? And what's your, I see a piano there, like, I guess on the piano, but like, what's your process? What's your process there?
The process has changed over the years, but I've always written music, or tried to, even before I played music. I would, when I was a kid, I try to write songs in my head, make them up, even before I played. But the process is, it's not like I have one thing. I do. Yeah. Easy is the wrong word, I guess. But what I can do is I can go and write immediately. The skill of it, I can sit down at the piano and write a song, just like I can pick up the bass and walk a chorus of rhythm changes. Doesn't mean that chorus of rhythm changes will be good. It just means I know how to put the chord notes together.
Yeah.
Or I know how to play a melody and harmonize at the piano. So, that writer's block thing, I think a lot of people, the process of practicing an instrument, you just, if it doesn't sound good, you understand, well, I'm just practicing, you keep going. When you write music, at least for me, it was like, well, I'm actually doing the thing. I don't like it. And then you stop when you don't like it. I would walk away. And I taught myself how not to walk away. I might not keep the song. But when I was younger in my process, and this is just someone young, I think, but too, my concept, this was like in the 90s, maybe. Like when we did 13 sketches in Bagdad theater, that stuff. My thought was, if I write a song at the piano and I can't remember it, then it's not worth having. So I didn't write down most of the music I wrote back then. I lost a whole bunch of songs because I can't remember them. So but now I write them. Now I have books and books of ideas and stuff. But I just start writing. Once I get inside of the song, I'm cool with it. And then I arrange it differently. And that's kind of the fun part for me. I have the song like almost like just like a lead sheet. I write the song without deciding what to do with it. That's one way I write. Then if I have strings, I write string parts, or it's going to feature whatever instrument, that kind of thing. Other times I write for the particular ensemble. which is, a different thing.
Yeah, if you know Nicholas is going to play, sure, you're going to, yeah.
Yeah, if I write for him, yeah. But Fatherhood, most of those songs were already written. Then I worked them out for the groups. But I mean, it's not like one way. And I do study. I mean, I spent a lot of time learning songs, like Cole Porter songs and stuff like that. Just playing the melodies, checking out the harmony and the original sheet music, just to see how they go together, or Johnny Mandel's music, or like I check it out and see what they're doing. And what I tend to find is the great songwriters, like the American Songbook type, Cole Porter, Irving Berlin, that kind of. It's the melody itself.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the deal. And sometimes even with the weird forms, like this song called "Let's Face the Music and Dance."
Yeah.
It's a beautiful song, and it's got a really unusual form, but it doesn't sound like it. But the melody dictates the form.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I learned a lot from just trying to really think about how important the melody is. Because I'm a bass player, so I don't play melodies all the time, and I learn chords. I love this chord. I love this chord. I love this chord. But it's the melody. So I think over the years I've focused more on trying to write strong melodies. Easier to say than to do sometimes, because we fall in love with this Herbie voicing, or
exactly.
It's all great, It's not that, but then you listen to some of those great records with those guys. The melodies are strong.
Yeah, exactly.
Ornette's music, the melodies are strong.
Yeah.
So I mean, but you asked me my process. I sit down at the piano and I write, man, and then I get inside of it, and I've kind of developed like a sort of style. Like I know certain voicings I'll use.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some of the stuff I do. It wouldn't even be noticeable. It's really bizarre. I'll give you examples. It's gonna sound abstract. So there's a song on the new record called "Lullaby in D." It's a ballad featuring Nicole, who sounds beautiful on it. And Orrin Evans is playing piano. And we recorded a song on an earlier record called Baby Tiger. We enjoy playing. It's a trio, we have strings at the end.
Yeah.
And Baby Tiger has a certain intro, particular exact intro. Okay, so on this new tune, there's a phrase in the middle of it. If you just take it out of context, it's like 4 beats. And it's the exact melody of the main part of Baby Tiger, but in a different context. Like no one would notice it. I didn't do it on purpose, but it's from the same person. So you're gonna have certain paint strokes are gonna be the same as other paintings, essentially. So I said to Orrin, look, that one little section is Baby Tiger. So let's play the Baby Tiger intro for this tune. So we inserted the intro and we used it somewhere else in the song, even though it's different key and everything. But I have a quote that's not going to be possibly noticeable, except for maybe the intro. But for me, that gives some symmetry from a song from 3 records back. For me, I have a line from this piece of work to this piece of work, which I believe, even though someone's not going to necessarily hear those things, that gives the whole canon, not to sound like I have a canon, but it gives it a connection to each other.
Yeah.
And for me, that is an art, the stuff that maybe is, the person may or may not see, doesn't matter, but it will have an effect on what the actual piece of art is versus how it's received. I divide those two things. I divide like how music is received when people listen to it and how it is as itself.
Yeah.
I got that from Stravinsky, man, because he said he can't listen to music with his eyes closed. He won't, because he gets like distracted by the euphoric feeling the music makes him feel. But that's him. That's him doing it, not the music. So now I can't close my eyes when I read that. Like, that fucked me up. But I like that type of stuff. Yeah. But it's not like I'm gonna write on liners. Check out how the intro is the same as Baby Tiger. Sure. Measure 9. It's not about trying to be slick. I just, those kind of things bring me into the compositions when I write, when I find things that, even if I did it accidentally, you know, it helps me when I arrange it later and that kind of thing. Anyway, long answer, but
no, but it's super, because I wanted to ask you here, like, you know, I don't know if you get that or not, but like sometimes I compose, you know, I compose a lot also, and then, you know, you start writing and you're like, okay, this E, Lydian, whatever, something harmony going on, and I again go into a 7/4 something, and then I'm writing this and I'm like, shit, you know, this is similar what I wrote like 12 years ago, and then I start contemplating on that, whether I should continue or not, or it's like, do you have any thoughts? Or,
well, you know, for me, I mean, I think I have things of that nature. I mean, sometimes I'll hear music in my mind, I'll create something, but by the time I go to write, it's either doesn't interest me anymore, or it's not the same, or I try to translate it, it sounds different. So usually when I have ideas, they tend to take the idea is sort of like a doorway, and then it becomes what it becomes.
Yeah.
But I also, you know, one time I wrote a ballad, and this is years ago, and I was like, man, this is incredible. I felt so excited about this melody. I was like, I really wrote a beautiful melody. I was like feeling myself. And then I realized, man, I started off on tuba as a kid, 7th grade.
Really? Oh, wow.
And there's like this thing called Tubby the Tuba. It's like it's kind of like a Peter and the Wolf, but for tuba. And anyway, I wrote the whole story is about the tuba can play melodies as well. I wrote the whole theme. It was that exact melody. Oh, I had never learned. It's in the hard drive. I'm like, man, it's kind of funny, you know, but I couldn't use it, obviously. So, but things like that, yeah, you get ideas, or another thing that can happen when you get an idea and you'll fall in love with your idea. And at some point, it's not working. You have to say, no, it's not working. Try something else.
Yeah.
So I have devices for that. Sometimes, like my charts or what I'm writing, it gets so messy. Notes to myself, or sometimes simply rewriting it cleanly gives me clarity.
Yeah.
Or try it in 3. Sometimes once I'm inside the song, I know it's something that it can become something. I allow myself to change things up.
Yeah, you should allow that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Instead of being married to the idea, that what it becomes is more important than the idea sometimes.
Yeah.
The ideas brings you in. Oh, I have an idea, we could do this. And then it becomes something else maybe. But that initial thought still is the germ.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense.
But you know, everyone's different though. That's why I say if you can just learn to write and not care what it sounds like, that's part of the problem. We care. Oh, it doesn't sound good. I better stop. If you're practicing, if it doesn't sound good, you keep going. So like, I learned to not stop. That's why I don't write lyrics, because there's no way I could ever write lyrics without worrying about what people think.
Yeah, sure.
I can't. I just, because, you know, they're all gonna laugh, you know, and they actually will laugh if they're terrible. But as far as my songs or the music, if someone hears Fatherhood and they don't like it, they think this bad, whatever, that's okay.
Yeah.
I believe it. I believe in it, you know, so I want people to like it, but again, the effect of the music, that's for each person to have. I'm not trying to control, you know.
Oh, yeah, sure. Makes sense.
You make what you believe in, and I think the people hearing it, just the fact you're listening is enough for me. You know, I want them, you know, if they don't like it, so be it. I don't like a lot of things that are great. Sometimes, you know, I'm not saying I'm great, but I mean, remember how I said I divide the music itself and the effect of music?
Yeah.
I also divide what I think is great music and what I like. What moves me at the moment, you know, some of it might not be some great piece of work. It might not be Beethoven. It might be a pop tune I heard as a kid. I still might like it, you know.
Yeah.
You know, they're different. I kind of divide the things in a way.
Yeah, it's hard also to say that. You know, sometimes students ask me like, yeah, but what do you like or what don't you like? You know, like someone likes chocolate ice cream and someone doesn't, and we're both right, actually.
And it might our taste might change.
Change, exactly. So it's
ice cream, still ice cream. It doesn't change.
Yeah, but taste, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a nice thing. Yeah. Ben, I wanted to ask you. You mentioned like Portland, beginning of the '80s, and you moved to New York mid '80s,
85,
85, which was a completely different beast than the town. But like, what was the main trigger you moved to New York? And
well, I wanted to get better, man. I wanted to play jazz, and I wanted to learn to play it. And I felt like it was time. I was working a lot in Portland, where I wasn't born there. I grew up there. I was born in Baltimore, but grew up in Portland. I played Woody Shaw when he came through town, which was amazing.
Oh, wow.
I wasn't ready, but I played with him. I was doing some gigs. I met Ray Brown, and I had a lesson with Ray Brown.
Really? Oh, wow.
And he said, it's time to go to New York. He encouraged me. And I met Charlie Rouse, who has never heard me play. Never. And I told him I was coming to New York to visit, and he was super, like he made sure that I could get into here and play he really took care of me in a lot of ways, having never heard me play, which was extremely inspiring. And he said, you got to go to New York. That's just how you got to do that. He said he was from DC, so it was easier. So I'm hearing this from Ray Brown, hearing from Charlie Rouse before then. And I knew people now who were starting to go there. And I just felt like if I stayed in Portland at that point, I wouldn't grow as much if I went to New York. It was fine. I felt like versus going to continuing college. Because back then, the whole school thing was different. A lot of us, my generation, didn't go to school, even though we now teach in the schools. Not the school's bad. I just, it was, so I went to a community college with a great bass teacher. And then I was considering going to Indiana University, but didn't go. And I got in my car and drove to New York, man. I slept in the rest stops on the way. I had a friend who needed a roommate, also from Portland. So I just went there. But I went there with the goal of getting better, not of fame and fortune, or I didn't know how I was going to do it. I just wanted to get better. I wanted to play.
Do you remember that first weeks? How was that like? I mean, did you know already some people?
I had been to New York once before. I knew a few people, not many.
Okay.
And I went to some jam sessions at people's houses. I went and heard music, but a guy named Ron Steen, drummer in Portland, who sort of taught me how to play. He used to play with Ted Curson, the trumpet player, used to play with Mingus. Wow. Ted Curson had a jam set. He ran the jam session at the Blue Note, and Ron hooked it up. He told Ted I was coming, so I ended up getting this subbing a few times, and I ended up getting the gig at the Blue Note. $20 a night, 6 nights a week. And we were like, what's it called when you don't pay for an apartment? We were I forgot the word.
Kind of squatting or?
Squatting. Yeah, we were squatting. We paid rent the first month, never asked for it again. Electricity was hooked up illegally. I mean, it was crazy. We were early 20s. I didn't care. I had no responsibilities of any kind. I just wanted to learn to play. So I'm playing the Blue Note. Met a lot of people. Russell Malone was one of my closest friends. Now would come down there. I met Harry Connick Jr. there. Tain. People come sit. I mean, it was just like a great thing. And for me, and Ted Curson never called a tune. He just started playing. I learned a bunch of songs.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And then I ended up moving. I went on the road with Woody Herman, and that didn't last long. Got fired. Even though I thought I was good, but no, I got fired. I thought I was set. I was going to ask for a raise, but I got fired first. I came back. First day back, I played a gig with Eddie Henderson, this club called Pat's.
Oh, wow.
I felt positive. And then I ended up moving to a building where Renee Rosness lived. So I was playing a lot of sessions, So it's just one thing I, moved on little bit by little. But the thing is, at that age, I was so romantic and I wanted it so bad. I felt like everyone has a gig but me. That's what it felt like. I've been in New York for 3 years now. So I'm 26 or so. Yeah, 26. It's 1988. And I'm like, man, I'm never, everyone else, is doing it. And I felt like I was never going to be able to play with anyone, the hero. Then I got to gig with Harry Connick shortly thereafter, which led, everything leads to different things. But, so it was a different New York back then for sure. But I was a different person, man, at 23 to 25. It was like, it was all new. but very inspiring and very exciting. And, you know, practiced a lot and played a lot and was fortunate to have enough gigs to get by.
Yeah. Yeah.
But rent was cheaper back then than it is
now.
Man,
sure. Yeah.
Everything was different. Now kids or younger musicians, they go to school to get to New York.
Yeah. That's bizarre. Yeah. But didn't
it was great times, man. I'll send it to you. I wrote a little article about this place we lived in Brooklyn. I first moved in New York. I'll send it to you.
Oh, please. Yeah. Please.
Yeah,
I'd love to read it.
It tells all about how ridiculous it was. But yeah, man. So those were great times, man. Met a lot of people, learned a lot of music. And sorry about that noise. I had my phone off.
Oh, no, I don't hear anything, actually.
But in my mind, I just want to play and get better. So that's what was happening. But then I started to see people, so-and-so playing with Betty Carter. You know, there were still people around where you would see your peers playing with the people you dreamed of playing with.
Yeah.
So you start but that's good for you. You know, it's all a matter, you know, it's good. But yeah, it was pretty wild. And I was writing music then too. But not as much. You know?
Yeah. I mean, but with Harry, that was quite a high profile gig, right? For you then.
When I first joined, it was just me and him, the two of us. Duo gigs. And then shortly after, he had one record out in Columbia, a duo record with Ron Carter, I think, and one trio tune with Veal and Herlin. But we were doing these tours, just duo. And then that's when he got the Harry Marsalis movie, which was huge for him.
Yeah.
So I was there for that. So that for me was, again, a whole new world. Now I'm in a studio in LA, you know, with Rob Reiner, with all his studio cast, and I'd never been in a studio like that before. All of a sudden, it was like this whole new thing. Now we're doing television shows. It was completely bizarre, you know, and seductive, you know, at the same time. You know, I lost some focus because it was all this. I was very young, man, all this stuff, you know. But I learned from it because Harry's a great musician. But, you know, his path was different than mine.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You know, I just want to play music, you know, but we're still, you know, I talk to him every now and then, we text. But that was wild, you know, playing with him because he just meteoric, he got huge, making movies and all this stuff.
Yeah, it's a completely different
different thing.
But didn't you at the same time, like that record "Lonely Woman" with Frank Kimbrough? That was around that time also, right?
That is around. I just started playing with Harry, and I mean, what year was that record? 88?
88. I love that record, man. You know,
my first record
Jeff Williams.
Jeff Williams, yes.
How did that one happen?
Well, I used to hang out. Me and Frank used to play together a lot, like in little places, and we'd walk around the village. We were friends. We played little gigs, and then he wanted to make this record, man. So we went out. It was near Baltimore, the studio. Crazy, man. We got Jeff. We drove down there, and we made this record. We did a couple of my tunes. And that's the first record I made that came out that was in a studio. I did a live record for someone. Okay. Yeah, Jimmy Cobb on it actually, but a couple of tunes. But yeah, that Lonely Woman, and that's the only record I'm on where I play like that too. Like I'm playing more in like you can hear like some Gary Peacock influence.
I love this record.
That
like
kind of thing. Yeah. It's so long ago, man. But yeah.
Also the tunes you do on Herbie Nichols, I think also, and
yeah, we do House Party Start.
Yeah, I love that stuff. It's so cool. Such a nice one.
Yeah, me and Frank ended up teaching together at Juilliard. Like he passed away, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's why
we were friends through the whole time. It was part in the middle. We didn't see each other for a while, but we ended up still being friends like years later. And I'll tell you something else about that record, Lonely Woman. There's a photo, right, of the three of us. And the photographer, if you look, it says Ted Nash.
Really? The saxophone player?
Yeah, he was. That's where I met him. He was the photographer. And Frank said, he plays saxophone too. Like, oh, okay, nice to meet you, Ted. He came and took the picture for the record.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Okay, wow, okay, that's funny. Yeah, I love that. It's. I mean, Frank was such a underrated piano player. Really, it's just
without a doubt.
You know, it's like Jeff also on drums. You know, it's like incredible. Yeah. Anyway, but you know, I wanted to ask you also, like, like in the early '90s, I guess you landed this gig with Wynton, right? And
yeah, I played with Wynton I think in 94,
Yeah.
but I had met Wynton in 88 because Harry Connick, before he officially hired me, he wanted Wynton to hear me.
Oh,
So
okay.
we came down to this club called the Knickerbocker, and we played for him. He hung out, and from that point on, me and Wynton were cool. We talk on the phone every now and then, and eventually he called me to his bass player Reginald Veal.
Yeah,
had to miss some gigs for some dental work he had done. So I came out with the band, you know, and it was great. I loved it. He was playing City Movement, and Wynton still talks about it, like how I came out and played the whole City Movement, no rehearsal. You know what, man? I appreciate the love, but honestly, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to show up and learn the music. So as much as I like when he says that, you know, it's nice, but what else would you do? Show up and not know the music? So,
sure.
It was great. I learned a lot. And so I did a few gigs with them. We played City Movement, we played some other things. And then Veal decided to leave the band at some point. And it's not like they wanted him to leave the band. So it took out a few bass players on the road. But I got this gig then, and it was really challenging because I was cool with everyone in the band, but it's like me and Reginald Veal, same generation, and I love his playing. One of my favorite bass players.
Yeah, he's incredible.
I love him. He's a great guy, great musician, and but like, man, I'm coming into a band where the music seems to be written for him, and these cats were in tears when they left the band.
Oh shit!
So how am I? And we're doing a tour now of this piece called "In This House." You know, it's like Baptist church in the South. I didn't grow up in the Baptist church, and I had to play the preacher part. I had to sing and play at the same time. All this stuff. It was incredible. I will never be afraid on the bandstand again. But I loved it, man. I learned so much in that band. In fact, 13 Sketches came out partly. That's Wynton's on 13 Sketches, as is Eric Reed.
Yeah. Oh yeah, on piano, on one track, yeah. Exactly.
And you'll notice I don't know if you'll notice, but here's a connection. On the song Blind 7, which is on 13 Sketches, and it's on Fatherhood.
On Fatherhood, yeah, sure.
At the end of the tune, the song ends, and I keep playing. On 13 Sketches, Wynton solos. On Fatherhood, me and Donna Edwards play and strings play. But that's something we did on Wynton's band all the time. He would come up behind me and say, just for me to hear, when the song ends, keep playing. And we play duet. Okay. We did that all the time. So I did that on that's why I did that on Blind 7.
Yeah.
Because of him, you know. So that record, it was a result. That record's a combination of my experience with Wynton and then playing a lot of gigs at Smalls and listening to the recordings of the cassette tapes of the gigs and adding a trombone part. I never had trombone in those gigs.
Yeah.
But the Wynton thing was very important to me. I mean, I still think about it. That I learned so much in that band.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, it was a beautiful experience, and it really had a real family vibe to it. Like I see anyone in that band now, it's still like it was 1994.
That's incredible.
It was a long time ago, you know.
Yeah.
It feels like yesterday. I talked about this on another thing I did, but it was such a different thing than the Harry Connick gig.
Oh man, I can imagine that. Sure.
And they're real close though. Like Harry comes from Wynton's tutelage in a lot of ways, but it was just it was so different. It was very interesting.
Yeah, it's like it's incredible. You know, when I look at your discography or the records I have you on, it's just like, you know, Harry Connick, Wynton, and you know, the first time I heard about you was through Diana Krall. I'm a huge Russell Malone fan. You know, I transcribed like all of his solos, and of course I bought Diana's record. So. And you know, I was thinking about your 90s, your career in the 90s. It must have been like surreal, crazy, busy. Like, how did you handle all that? You know,
it was interesting, man. It was interesting. The 90s, sorry for something. The 90s, like I played with a lot of these young young cats, but who were younger than me in the 90s. You know, like Eric Reed. You know, I played a lot with Greg Hutchinson. These cats, I was in New York in the 80s, but I wasn't part of that scene like with Wynton and them in the 80s.
Yeah.
Like we used to joke, I say, Wynton, man, you hired every bass player in the world but me in the 80s. And he said, well, if you were in New York in the 80s, I would have hired you. I'm like, I was in New York in the 80s. But yeah, so the 90s were great though, man. It was a lot going on, man. It's interesting. My combo with Juilliard just did a concert this morning called Young Lions of the 90s. You know, it played like Roy Hargrow's music and Nicholas Payne's music. But yeah, man, the 90s were, I didn't realize how great that decade was till it ended. I mean, if you were part of it, it was like nonstop, man. Touring and I understand, but I feel I'm fortunate to have gotten to experience that. I know not everyone did, so I appreciate it. But it was really something, man. It was a lot of great musicians, and it was swinging. So Wynton's band was happening. I was doing that. I played with Marcus Roberts' band during that time.
Oh, really? I didn't know. Okay.
I played some of Branford during that time. I recorded with that Buckshot LaFunk group.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, so, and then there was just so many different and Dinah Krall was happening then. Harry was happening
constant
then.
Europe, right? You were traveling to Europe all the time.
I was in Europe quite a bit. Yeah. Summertime, all those festivals. It's amazing, man. I mean, you know, but see, it's interesting how it works because now there are other people doing that. Like, again, that's how it works. Like, when I see all the stuff that Joel Ross and Emmanuel Wickens are doing, it reminds me of the 90s. Like, they're playing differently, but they're doing those kind of gigs. They're doing all the festivals. They're touring the clubs, which is awesome. I'm happy for them because everybody can't do it.
Yeah, sure.
So, you know, but it's, 90s were great, man. It was like I was saying, I thought I wasn't going to be doing anything. And the amount of years between me thinking I wasn't going to be able to do anything and being really busy wasn't that much time.
Yeah.
But like it's you know, at that age, at least for me, where nothing else existed besides music, you attach so much to like success and failure as far as musically speaking.
Yeah. But how did you handle all that? You know, I mean, I wanted to ask you, like, how did you get the gig with Diana, and how was that like? Because it's again another really high-profile gig. Like,
yeah, I mean, I'm guessing at that point she may have known who I am through Harry Wynton. Russell Malone also played with Harry, but I think the first time I played with Diana Krall, she called me to play a gig at, I want to say the Blue Note one night. It was like sort of like a showcase for her, trying to get a record deal or something like that. So I met her there. We rehearsed and I played the one gig, the trio gig. Wasn't playing it. And then, but I got to know her. We became friends. I knew her then. And then eventually she called me to come on the road and play with her and Russell.
Trio
I did that
just.
for a while. Then I left the group and I came back again. But yeah, that's nice. We're kind of like that. Like, if you were part of it, it was people just, you know, hey, I'm available. I'm going to come back in the band. I'm free. Great. Can you start next month? It was a really, looking back, we were too naive to realize how easy it was, how good it was. I appreciate it more now probably than I did then. But it was a special time, I feel like. Yeah. But I think I know a lot more music now. You know, my relationship with music is different now than it was then, surely, you know. But that was a great time, made good friends, and
it's incredible. Yeah, it's like I speak. You know, I've spoken to so many guys, and I played with many guys. I mean, you know, who were like in the 90s. There was like this downtown movement still going on.
That was going on too, right?
The avant-garde, then it was like this swing, new Young Lions thing going on. It was still fusion. It was like everything was blooming, and people were.
There was a lot happening. No question.
It's incredible. It's
and there are a lot of young musicians really wanting to swing. There are a lot of them. Where now it's not as many. So if there's not as many, there's less chance of it being good. Which is nothing against anybody. Just, you know, it's things change, and you know, there's the whole politics of the music too.
Definitely.
You know, which is we're all out here, but yeah, man, the whole thing's interesting looking back at it. Yeah. Part of me sees this whole lot of this long journey, and part of me feels like I just moved here yesterday.
Yeah. Time goes by like that. Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. How did you, in the midst of all this touring, Diana Krall, Wynton chaos and gigs, decide to do 13 sketches and the Bagdad think, okay, that at that time I'll become a band leader and make a debut?
Well, I've been wanting to make a record for a while at that point. And so I would try to call people, try to get a record, I wanted to make a record. And then I called this pianist, Dado Moroni, you know who that is?
Sure, I know that, yeah.
So I called Dado, I heard he might have someone I could talk to, and he hooked me up with Mons Records. So they gave me a record deal with very little money, but it was enough to make a record, so they gave me 3-record deal.
Wow, okay.
Which is not, but just, it wasn't a lot of money or anything, but it was enough to record it, sort of, and then he put it out. So I did 2 for him. But I've been wanting to make a record. I was trying. I was playing at Smalls with my band, and I really wanted to make a record for a while. So that's when I've been playing other people's records now at this point. So we did 13 sketches.
Yeah.
Direct to 2-track, direct to dat.
Wow. Okay.
And and that was that. Then we did the next one, and Wynton came and played on the record, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a crazy thing. Because he's so busy always, and it's like his people were like, Wynton is really busy today. Wynton's really busy. All of a sudden, in the middle of the day, he's on his way. It was just, we didn't know he was coming to the last second. And he played great, and I always appreciate. He did it for me on 2 records. But 13 sketches. I was out of my mind that day. Eric Reed, who's on 1 song, I think.
Yeah.
He came early to hang out, and he was like, "Wolf, man, at this rate, you've only been here for an hour. You're not gonna get through the day." And I was like, just crazy, telling the drummer exactly what to play. I was just in total, out of control perfectionist mode for everyone else, not for me, but for them. So he was very helpful to tell me just to chill. And I like the record. I like parts of it. Yeah. It's different. It's like 97 or something like that.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about writing. You can sort of follow that on the record. One could, I should say. Like on 13 sketches, it was just bass, drums, trombone, tenor, and trumpet. Then the next one I added, and piano on 1 song. The next record, Bagdad Theater, I changed drummers.
Louis is also on piano on some tracks, Perdomo, I think.
No. On that record, Benny Green's on piano.
Benny Green, oh shit.
Okay. I also played in his trio in the 90s. And we made sure we were in high school. But it was still pianoless except for a couple of songs, but I added baritone sax. So it changed. I keep adding more voices.
Yeah.
There was also oud on 1 song on 13.
Oh yeah, almost. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was always fascinated trying to add voices to things.
Yeah.
But Luis didn't play with me.
Luis is on Fatherhood. Yeah, I mixed it up. Yeah.
He's on 3, I think. He's on a record called No Strangers Here and Live at Smalls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And half of Fatherhood. Yeah.
Yeah. I love Luis's playing. He's incredible. Yeah. Well, when you did 13 sketches, like you became a band leader. I mean, obviously you wanted to do it for a long time, but what did you learn from Wynton and let's say Diana or Harry? How were they like as band leaders to you?
All completely different. With Wynton is such a tremendous orchestrator, and I think I learned a lot from him about both him and Harry. Harry's harmonic thing is so beautiful. The way chords move, the harmonic movement. Harry, I learned. I find myself writing stuff I got that shit from Harry without meaning to. Certain voicings I use.
Yeah.
Harry. And with Wynton too, certain harmonic things, and just Wynton's his intense desire for the groups to sound like an ensemble and to play in balance. Yeah. That thing he has. He very much is into that, which I'm aligned with him there. I mean, I already was. Like I stopped. People think I stopped using the amp because of Wynton, but I was doing that before Wynton's bass players were doing it. Wynton made you do that. I said, no, I did it before. But everyone used to do it, so it's nothing new anyway. But we were lined up with like he doesn't in Wynton's band, like on stage, there's no monitors, no amplifiers, nothing, man. Just mics at music stands or whatever. And that's how I like to play as well. So it helped convince me that I'm on the right track in some ways. But when, you know, man, the influences, I mean, it was such a great challenge being in that band because it was all about music. So there was a lot of like, you know, he would let you know when it wasn't happening, which I like.
That's good. Yeah.
It wasn't show business. Dinah Krall was different, but you know, that was playing with her and Russell. I enjoyed that a lot. I learned a lot from Russell always because he's a great musician, knows a million songs. But that gig was more about figuring out, learning how to really be a sideman. Like, okay, how can I make this vision, help to illuminate it, and still be myself? I was learning about that.
That's a heavy one, yeah.
You know, because it's her band. You know, she's singing, but I love the songs, man. So I thought that was a good band, the one with Russell.
Oh yeah, I love it.
But that was much different than Wynton and different than Harry. You know, it was like those gigs are just so different than what I do now in a lot of ways. You know, but yeah, I'm not sure what it's hard to list what I learned, but I know I learned a lot just from the experiences all the time in the studio, making records, working nonstop. You know, seeing what happens to a group of musicians when they play every night. You know how the negotiating, playing together. Yeah, that's essentially living together at the same time, and how to make that all work. And I was fortunate. Most of the groups I've been in had a pretty good personal relationships with each other. It wasn't like people hate each other. Yeah, that's sure. Which is helpful for everything, not necessarily the music, but certainly for getting around. But with Diana Krall, man, we were like at that one point, we're taking trains in Europe with the bass trunk. I'm rolling the bass trunk down the street with my suitcase. It was very like lo-fi, so to speak. You know, at the beginning, like she wasn't selling 1 million records yet. Yeah. She was doing well, but she wasn't selling them. She wasn't like what she became. And last time I played with Diana Krall was like, I subbed for Bob Hurst for 7 weeks, about 15 years ago or something. And it was unbelievable, man. It was just like, I never want to leave. I felt like I was on vacation. It was amazing. You know, how she treated the band. It was like, I never seen anything like it. Yeah. But Wynton's that way too. Like the way he treats the band, that's another thing I learned from him. He was extremely fair in his dealings, I found. I never once questioned how much I'm getting paid. I never once asked for this. Never. Everything was always cool. And the thing that really struck me, this is before Jazz Lincoln Center. I'm on the bus, and his like manager, someone came to me and says, "Do you want dental?" I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about? With your insurance?" Oh wow! Like what? Like he offered insurance in a small group, health insurance, man. I mean, that was like in '94. I didn't even have health insurance. I mean, it was so. That's amazing, man. I was like, wow, he takes care of his band, which inspires loyalty and desire to play. I can't give my band health insurance. You know, I can buy him lunch every now and then, you know. But like, the fairness he had I thought was amazing. Yeah. Not that others weren't fair, but it was just someone of that much power could easily just say, look, get these guys, pay them this. Yeah, exactly. He could easily have done that. He that's not his style. Yeah. Which I respect. Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you lead bands now, are you also the same, like that you tell musicians if you don't like something, or how do you treat the idea of the band? I try to get people that don't need to do that with. If I were to get a musician, if I were to have a band of just much younger musicians, like all, let's say 20-year-old, then I would do that. Yeah. But I think for me, I don't think I'd do it the same way Wynton did it. But maybe if I had a band on the road that was 100% committed and on salary, and it was like we were working 8 months a year, then I could do that. But if I'm just a few nights here, a few nights there, I just try to get the best people I can. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, but I'm not beyond doing that, but it hasn't really been like that. Yeah, I mean, you have incredible musicians on all your records. You know, it's The kind of thing I might still say to someone like, let's not solo so long, or that kind of stuff.
Yeah, okay. That's
Wynn's band, we were like on the road, like it was like nonstop. So it was like being like part of a sports team or something. It was like we're together all the time. So it made sense for him to say, look, man, why are you bullshitting or whatever, you know? Harry was like that too. Harry was really hard that way too.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, because he had crazy ears. He could hear everything. He could hear like one note was missed by anybody anytime. He hears it. I mean, up there, he's in the front of the stage, like, you know, dancing and telling jokes and singing and crowds laughing. And he'll turn around, nice. He'll hear like one note slightly off and he'll hear it in the midst of the circus. I mean, crazy.
Wow.
The ears.
That's incredible. Yeah.
It keeps you honest when you know that the band leader, even though if they're juggling or whatever he's doing, he still hears every note you're playing.
That's important. Yeah.
This is funny, man. But yeah, those are all great experiences that I'm sure all of them feed into what I'm trying to do now.
Yeah,
definitely. One way or another, you know.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask you also, like, you know, you did stuff also with Michael Bublé, right?
I did 2 records with Michael Bublé.
Like,
but it was...
how did you end in that place? I mean, kind of, you know, Harry and Diana, I guess.
No, my guess is because I played with Harry, he probably was into Harry. But the first record I did with him, they flew me to LA to play 2 songs. But they also brought Brad Lely, who was Harry Connick's lead alto player originally. We both went out there to play a big band record. And I didn't, you know much about Michael Bublé, but I really liked him a lot. And he had a great time. It feels really good to play with him. I had no idea. I mean, I've heard him, I didn't know, you know. And I like him. He's an extremely funny dude.
Yeah.
Really, really outrageously funny. And then we did another record where, again, they flew me out to LA to play on a couple songs. And Dave Foster was producing it, which was kind of, the pop guy, which was kind of fun, funny, And so those are 2 records I'm on. And then there's another record that just came out that I'm not on, but he contacted me. It was during the pandemic, right? Where people are doing everything at home, which is not my style. And he said, look, I need you on this record. Can you record something? Will you record this thing for us? So I did it when I was recording I did this in the sessions I was doing for my records. I just took some time. I recorded this thing for Michael Bublé. But he didn't use it. But he paid me for it like twice, so it's cool. But I mean, so that's our only real relationship is the recordings.
Yeah, okay.
Text every now and then, but it's unusual. I know it's bizarre. It's like all of a sudden Michael Bublé after all.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that. I mean, with Harry Connick and kind of was like, okay,
it's unusual, man. It almost doesn't make sense. Yeah. But I mean, it was a few days. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Michael. He's a nice guy. I mean, I don't think I could be in his band. I don't think that'd be for me, but I don't mind. I love recording. I love the studio.
Definitely. Yeah. Cool. Ben, I just wanted to ask you, like, you have this new record coming out, you said, like, in February and
February 3rd.
Are any plans for touring or coming to Europe also with that group?
I'm working on it. I have stuff on the West Coast. Well, I'm playing at Birdland. The weekend comes out in New York.
Oh, fantastic.
I'm playing, and then in February, excuse me, I think April, we're going to the West Coast. I have a night in Seattle, a couple nights in Portland, and we're working on some other things. So I'm trying to. I would love to come to Europe, but I've yet to figure out how to do it.